So, hello, Justin, and thank you for agreeing to do a quick testimonial video for me. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, is there anything that you want to share from your side before I ask you three questions?
Well, thank you, Vatis, for having me. I was thinking about how long I've been working with you as a business coach, and I think it was April 2021 that we started coaching.
April 20.
So you walked a long journey with me, and there's been a lot of ups and downs, but yeah, it's been a fantastic journey, Vatis. So yeah, it's wonderful to be here.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Thanks for that. That's why I enjoy what I do here. So, the first question I've got for you is why did you decide to do coaching?
Well, Batters, I never had coaching before, and I think my business was only a few years old. It was the beginning, well, not the beginning, but we were in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of stuff was going on personally and obviously professionally. And for me, coaching appealed to me. I'd always done sport as a kid and always looked up to coaches. Coaches were always seen as a positive influence in my life, from soccer to athletics to cross country to all of those things.
Mm.
And so I thought, well, let me give, what's the harm in giving a business coach a chance? Looking back, the reason for coaching was to have somebody objective. When you're working for yourself and you're making all those decisions yourself, you very easily can lose objectivity. You're in the trenches, and so you're making decisions and not maybe not necessarily always the best decisions. Whereas having a business coach really helps you have that outside objective point of view, bringing in that kind of clarity or focus. So that really helps. Also accountability. I'm accountable to my coach, which is really awesome. So, there's a lot of those practices that coaches have outside of business that also then help with the business coach.
So, all the things that you've now mentioned, I actually want to just ask you a few things. What do you think is the value of, let's say, accountability, the results that you got, the clarity you gained on the journey, that focus, or in some cases, that refocusing that was needed? Maybe also the value of things like, what's the outcomes and the transformation you received? What do you think is the value of those things?
Yeah, Baptist, that's a like a question. I think it would be the same thing of saying, what is the value of going to school? Or what is the value of learning? It's immeasurable because learning will forever change your life for the better. And I think business coaching has forever changed the way I do business. I think you've helped me change the way I think, which then leads me to the way in which I do things. I think since business coaching, I've become a lot more intentional about things, which is amazing because kind of before that, I was on autopilot. You kind of just go with the flow. And if a client phones you and interrupts your evening or interrupts your weekend, you just do it. Whereas now with business coaching, it's a lot more focused, it's a lot more structured, it's a lot more intentional. And so, yeah, I thought, there were a few things we've had a lot of chats over the years, but there was this one particular thing that I thought of where you've particularly helped me relook expenses as opposed to maybe it's an investment. And I remember the one day we were talking about my slow computer, and you asked me, well, how much time am I wasting every time I'm starting up my computer or copying massive files across? How much loss in productivity am I having? I said, yeah, well, I've never really thought of that because I think the question was that I didn't have the funds to buy a new computer. And when I did the Soma keys, I was losing maybe 15 minutes every day, and you multiply that over a year, and you're losing a significant amount of time in productivity. And when I look at buying my new computer versus the loss of productivity, I think it was about 8 months that computer would have paid itself off just in the fact that it was starting up instantly. It was solid state. It used the fastest software and all of that stuff. So by just re-looking at the way I viewed an expense as opposed as a way of buying back time, just having a foster computer for 8 months paid itself off.
Yeah.
Those are things that when you're in the trenches, when you're in your running a business, you don't think like that. And so a coach will help you rethink or help you see things differently and approach expenses differently. Now, after those 8 months, I'm actually now more profitable because I have a faster machine.
So I just ran the calculations here very briefly on that 15 minutes, just to give people a bit of an idea. So if you look at 15 minutes, that's over 5,400 minutes. That's
Yo.
91.25 hours. If you multiply that with, let's say, an average rate per hour of, let's say, 800 Rand an hour, that's 73,000 Rand a year that's wasted on just 15 minutes every day. So, I mean,
Wow.
if you
Well,
buy a computer for half of that,
yeah.
bonus.
Wow. So that, yes. So,
Yeah.
so those are the little things, those nuggets where, Batters, another thing you've taught me is coaching is not about doing 180-degree massive changes in your life or in your business. It's those small needlework things, those 2-degree shifts consistently over time, just small needlework that brings massive results later. And I think that's another thing that you've taught me is doing those little things.
Absolutely. While we're on the value of, while we're on this, the value of coaching, what would you say is the value of where you've been as a business owner before coaching versus now after it's not really after the journey, you're kind of still on the journey, but let's say the transformation of the business. What do you think is the value of that? The transformation that happened, not just in your mindset, but also in the business itself.
Sure. Yeah, I think when you're running your own business, I can speak for myself, but maybe for a lot of people also, is that you're doing it because you're passionate about what you're doing. I didn't start my own business because I had a great business model or a great business plan. I started my own business because I'm passionate about creating great video content. The downside of that is then you pursuing the passion versus making a sustainable, profitable business. And I think the value then of a coach is to say, yes, keep your passion. That's great. That's your engine. That's your driving force. That's your fuel. But at the same time, a coach will help you you've helped me to go, well, rather also wear the hat of being a business owner. So it's not just about being the creative. It's also about being a business owner who creates a sustainable business that I happen to be very passionate about. And so you've brought in maybe a balance because as a creative business owner or as a creative who happens to own a business, you overlook a lot of things that you shouldn't overlook because you're only focusing on the passion, if that makes sense. Whereas the value of having a business coach is like, but hang on, I need to operate as a business. I need to have terms and conditions. I need to have systems and processes. I need to have T's and C's. I need to have boundaries with my clients, all those things, which if you're just a creative and you're a freelancer and you're just doing your own thing, you wouldn't necessarily have that.
Absolutely. I think the last thing I want to stand with the transformation and value of coaching is that thing that happened a few weeks ago, where you kind of built a brand of Justin, the videographer, and making, videos. And it's like, there's a lot of people in your space that can make videos, right? But then you transformed, and that's what I mean by transformation. You transformed in this new sort of storytelling space. And what happened what happened when you made that conscious decision to build that brand with a client scenario that happened a few weeks ago?
Okay, yes. So yeah, I think before that sort of transformation, I would have viewed myself as a standard videographer. But with the coaching and with the journey that we've been on, I started to find that my niche was more a visual storyteller. A passion for storytelling, a passion for bringing emotion and engaging content, not just on a videography level. And so that helped me to sort of relook at the kind of clients that I wanted. The kind of person that just wants a videographer might not necessarily be the kind of client that I want. And with coaching, you helped me to focus on the kind of clients that I wanted to do work with. And so I actually, on one of our one-on-one sessions, um, I was had to pitch to an international client, and I was going to just focus on the benefits of video. And you actually challenged me to say, but no, that's not really your niche. Your niche is actually visual storytelling, and you should focus on that niche when you pitch to the client. And so I had to leave that meeting with my tail between my legs because yes, you were right. And when I shifted that focus again, and when I focused on that in the presentation, that is what won me the client. It's because they weren't just getting a videographer, they were getting a visual storyteller that encapsulated the whole project from a storytelling point of view, which is exactly what they wanted. And so it's that kind of, again, that accountability, that objectiveness that a coach can bring in to say, don't be lazy. You need to focus on this because that's your niche.
Yeah, and I think that confidence also shines through when you're actually in your power and what you want to do, and then that creates massive confidence, helped you, land another international client, which is phenomenal. So that's amazing. Well done. Okay, so the last question I've got for you is what would you say is the value of the Refocus community?
Yeah. So again, I've said this a few times. When you're when you're running your own business or a solo entrepreneur, very often, very often it feels like you are alone. You're in the trenches alone, bombs are going off around you, and you feel like you're the only oak that has cash flow problems, client frustrations, or other challenges that nobody else is having. But when you bring it onto the fast track community, you realize that you're not alone. You realize that there are a lot of other business owners going through the same thing, and your community kind of is like a group support where you encourage one another, you learn from one another. It's a really good, when you have those Q&A sessions, it's always very beneficial because you're like, I experienced something similar, like, or hey, I had the same problem and this was my solution. And then the other person goes, oh, I didn't really think of that. And so it's a really good community because it lifts each other up. It reminds us that we're in this together. We all have a common purpose, a common goal. We want to grow our businesses. I've made some really good connections and referrals through that as well. So the benefit is so good because it brings you out of isolation and into a community where then you can thrive as others are also thriving.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I mean, that's kind of why I built that community, is to really help people and support people, whether it's a Q&A session or an educational session or just being real, what we are learning right now, what's working. And what I love about it is the fact that you've also been so long on it is sometimes people like yourselves kind of start helping other people. You take my teachings, you put it in your own words, and then they learn from you guys again. And so they all learn from one another in a different way, which I think is extremely powerful and almost invaluable, because maybe the one way I said it today might not land for that person today, but the way you say it today is actually what lands for that person, and it, takes them up to the next level. So that happened so many times over the years. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to jump in there and say, you one of the things that you teach is this high performance mindset, as opposed to having a lack mindset or a gray zone, as you call it. And I think a high performance mindset is contagious. And I think when you're rubbing shoulders with somebody who's positive, who has a high performance mindset or a growth mindset, you want to find out, but hey, how come you're so positive? Or how come you think like that? Oh no, I've got a coach, or I've got this, or I've learned this from my coach, or I've just learned this. And I think that's kind of where it's that gift that keeps on giving, where when your mindset starts to change, it's so easy to fall into a victim mindset. And a few times you've called me out on that, but no, don't have a victim mindset. Rather be a victor despite your circumstances. And so when you have that high performance mindset, when you're living proof of what you're practicing, people are drawn to that. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, is that then they go, but no, but how did you figure that out? Or how did you manage to work that out? Or how did you overcome that challenge?
I think you pinned you pinpoint something really interesting here about the high performance mindset. And this is actually why I wrote the book, because you're saying people are attracted to that. And I see so many times that people are in this low energy space. They are not confident enough. They just need that little bit of confidence, that little bit of, something, that little bit of energy, or, something. And it is sad to see that some people never get that energy. They never kind of evolve. And as you're saying, it's a contagious thing. So if you look at just the conversion side of business, it really helps with converting, your clients because of that, contagiousness, if that's a word. Um, yeah, it's something that's ever evolving and ever growing, and it increases confidence, and it just does so many things for people if they're just willing to do it a little bit every single day and improve that high performance mindset every single day. The compounding and multiplication effect of that is insane. So yeah.
Yes. So you've taught us, or you've taught me, that clients will only work with you if they trust you. But if you are showing confidence in what you do, definitely not an arrogance, but more of a confidence. If you show that confidence, they're more likely to trust you than if you're incredibly doubtful about because you're supposed to be the expert at what you're doing, right? So if you're exuding, or if you are showing that confidence, it's more likely the client will trust you, because you know what you need to do. And again, it circles back to what I said earlier, is you become more intentional. And I think since coaching, I've also been able to pinpoint the type of clients that I want, the type of work that I want. It's not just any video or any videographer work. These are specific clients that I want and specific work that I would like. And then you kind of build up that confidence in looking for those kind of clients. I remember once, it was still the pandemic, and we were chatting like this online, and you asked me what one of my goals were, and I said, no, I really want to get an international client. And you said to me, well, why don't you go get one? I was like, oh, is it that easy?
Simple, right?
Like, yes. So, and then just my focus was on, oh, but I can just go find a one. And then the way that I planned it out or set it out, I ended up getting one. So it was just amazing. It's really helpful when you have somebody to guide you in that sense.
Yeah, it's that simple thing of just, why haven't you tried yet? Just go try
Yeah.
and get one. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Well, thanks for that, Justin. I really appreciate your time and doing this testimonial for me. I believe you have a question for me as well.
Yes, I do have a question. So, Baptist, like I said, we've probably been coaching now for 4 or 5 years. My question for you is, what were some of the highlights or those proud moments, those proud coach moments of my journey with you, where you stood, where you could stand back and go like, wow, that really was a great milestone or achievement, or a learning that Justin, experienced?
Yeah, look, it's kind of a loaded question because yeah, it's kind of difficult to remember all the highlights, but maybe I can use it in a story form because you are the story master. So let me see if I can try it in a story way. So, and I'm going to be brutally honest here. So, what I've seen when I met you the first time before coaching, it was kind of like the energy of the man sitting in front of me was really low. It was almost
Mm.
like an empty shell of a man, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on here. But then eventually we started the coaching, and I got to know your story and whatever. And look, with all the stuff that happened with your personal stuff that I'm not going to mention here now because I don't feel that's fair on anyone to hear. That's something that you can share. But in order to bounce back from all that hardships and loss of life of people, and the way you developed that high performance mindset, and you can see the energy boosting and it's growing from one session to the next. For me, that was a really, how can I say, a really proud moment. I'm almost getting a bit teary here. Yeah, people can see that's the
Thank
kind of person that I am. So that's not something that
you.
I've tried to change this bloody teary thing with. That's probably never going to change. So, yeah, I think that for me is a big one. The way you dealt with stuff. Um, and then also the way you brought this to your kids as well. And this for me is you're not the first line that went through this. It's something that's really special. It's almost like you walk on the sand and then the dad's footsteps is there and then the kid's footsteps is there and then the sea washes it away. But there were still footsteps there. So I see myself almost as that small footstep in the journey with the client, because some of the stuff that we discussed, you actually took to your kids and they are growing through this and they, get value out of this journey as well, based on the feedback that you guys are giving me usually, especially the feedback that you gave me. Yeah, and then a big one for me was the fact that you went through all those hardships, going through a divorce and all that, and then still after all of that found a life partner again, even if it's
Yeah.
an Afrikaans one. So so yeah, that was quite interesting. I never expected that, to be honest. I thought the stuff that you went through, I don't think that would have ever happened. So, but again, I think that showed the whole high performance mindset again, bouncing back, moving forward, because we can't control the past, but you can only control the future. And I think that's kind of what you've done there, which was quite amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the way you grew your business and you stabilize it through COVID, because COVID kind of knocked a lot of business around. I know, you and me got some knocks through COVID, but you also stabilized the business through that. You grew through that. And I think if I remember correctly, your business is now a lot bigger than it was before COVID. So that's a proud moment for clients to also achieve that financial reward, because that's kind of what the business coaching side was almost, I wouldn't say all about, but it's a huge combination, because yeah, the mindset side and the life coaching side, combine that with the business side, I think that makes a huge impact on businesses. Um, yeah, and I think one of the proud moments, like I think I mentioned this before, is the fact that you, after 4 or 5 years, you're still giving back to the community. You're still taking some of the words, some of the learnings, give it back in your own words, giving back to the community, which is always, for me, a special thing to see when people start giving back. Not just in the community, but also, in life and people you meet that I've never met. That for me is important. And I think a proud moment was through all the stuff that you went through, you were still a leader in your BNI chapter, and you also became a president of your BNI chapter, which I thought was, it's a significant role to play in a chapter like that. And even when you go through those things that you went through. So I thought that was quite amazing. And I'm not sure if I should say this out loud to everybody that's going to be watching this video, but we'll see.
Uh-oh.
I don't invite a lot of people to my house. So as clients and they walk with me apart for a certain amount of time, I mean, you were one of the people that I invited to my house. So for me, just the fact that I invited you to my house should say something about you as a person, because I don't invite a lot of people over for a braai, basically. So yeah, I think that's what stood out for me, if I answered your question correctly.
Sure. No, thank you, Bertus. Yeah, it's really, you hit the heart there as well. And I think one thing that I forgot to maybe mention is that even though you're a business coach, there's no ways we can escape not talking about our personal lives. Because you're running your own business, when you're a solo entrepreneur, so much of your business vitals rely on your personal vitals. And so if you're not okay or in a good space personally, your business will never be in a good space.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where this coaching is so important, because you need to have a high performance mindset also in your personal life and in your professional life. And so for me, the successes that you've mentioned are half of them are personal and half of them are professional, but they all go together to make one testimonial. And so I think it's really important to have that help or that guidance and support on the personal side as well, because life is unpredictable, life is hectic, and you can't control everything. And having a coach walk those personal things with you has been really beneficial. And then to see the look back and see all the progress and all those milestones, yeah, it's really wonderful.
Thanks, and thank you for this opportunity and for this testimonial. I think this is going to be absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for this journey that we've worked together. I'm probably going continue to walk together for a while.
Absolutely, Baptist. Yeah, well, thank you. Only a pleasure, and thank you for your time too.
Awesome. Thanks.